The journey of humanity on the lands of modern France can be traced back to thousands of years ago. However, the earliest written records take us to the end of the Iron Age. Roman accounts discuss the existence of Aquitanians, Gauls, and Belgae in the region. The Gauls, belonging to the Celtic culture, migrated here from Central Europe in the 6th or 5th century BC. Moreover, the southern part of France is home to Greek and Phoenician colonies. The Roman Republic, which rose to power on the Italian peninsula, took over southern France in 122 BC, calling it Gallia Narbonensis. Later, Roman consul Julius Caesar conducted a series of campaigns between 58 to 50 BC, conquering all of Gaul. You can find the video regarding Caesar's Gallic campaign by clicking the card at the top right. A cultural revolution happened in Gaul during Roman rule. Gallo-Roman culture gradually replaced Celtic culture. The region integrated with Rome. 4th century. As the Huns settled in the northern Black Sea in the 4th century BC, Germanic tribes like the Visigoths, Ostrogoths, Anglo-Saxons, Franks, and Gepids moved west. Lombards, Burgundians, Vandals, and Slavs who were not Germanic also moved west. They advanced all the way to Spain and even North Africa. The tribes caused the fall of the Western Roman Empire. Clovis, the leader of the Salian Franks, defeated some Germanic tribes and founded the Merovingian dynasty in 486. He united central and northern Gaul. He accepted Christianity and expanded his borders soon after. His kingdom was divided after his death, but he kept his influence. The Franks halted the Muslims, who had taken Spain and pushed further north, at the Battle of Poitiers in 732 under the leadership of Charles Martel, the mayor of the Palace of Austrasia. For a detailed description of this battle, click on the card in the top right corner. Pepin the Short, son of Charles Martel, became the king of the Franks in 751 and established the Carolingian dynasty. The Carolingian Empire reached its zenith under Charlemagne, who ascended to the throne in 768. He was the first to conquer half of Europe and to fill the gap left by Rome. In 800, the Pope declared him the Roman Emperor of the Germans. After his death, the kingdom was divided and the separated parts drifted further apart. The Western Franks, the foundation of the French, faced Viking invasions during the 9th and 10th centuries. Some of the Vikings settled in the western part of the kingdom and adopted the French language. In 987, Hugh Capet overthrew the Carolingian dynasty in France. After this, the country was referred to as France, based on the name Francia. Feudalism had so deeply permeated medieval France that the king's influence over local rulers was nearly non-existent. William, the Duke of Normandy, independently invaded the British Isles and captured the English throne during the Battle of Hastings in 1066. Between 1165 and 1328, during the Young Capetian era, the kings of France expanded their power significantly. They hastened this process, especially by collaborating with the Church. They took part in the Crusades, launched against the Muslims to reclaim the lands considered sacred by Christians, fighting at the forefront. The death of Charles IV in 1328, without an heir, initiated a chain of events that would profoundly affect the history of France. Philippe VI from the Valois family became king. Despite this, King Edward III of England claimed the throne through his mother Eleanor. This situation resulted in the outbreak of the 100 Years' War starting in 1337. While the English held the advantage in the war, the French reclaimed their lands from English occupation. This war enhanced France's military and political strength. Towards the end of the 15th century, France sought to achieve internal unity. It centralized and increased its power. It entered into conflict with the Habsburgs, the strongest in Europe in the 16th century. Against the Roman-German Emperor Charles V, it successfully allied with the Ottomans. It withstood Habsburg pressure. Inspired by John Calvin, the Protestant Reformation severely criticized the Catholic Church, resulting in a religious war in France in 1562. During the war, millions of people perished due to disease or famine. After the assassination of Henry III in 1598, Henry IV from the Bourbon family ascended to the throne. Although the new king granted some rights to Protestants with the Edict of Nantes, the Catholic system prevailed at the beginning of the 17th century. Religious disputes transformed into the 30 Years' War, devastating the Holy Roman Empire. France, a Catholic nation, supported Protestants against the Habsburgs and gained much. In 1643, Louis XIV, known as the Sun King, ascended to the throne. During his 72-year reign, France made significant advancements. The king's aggressive and expansionist policies made France the strongest in Europe for 50 years. Additionally, under Louis XIV, France reached its peak in art and science. The structural reforms laid the foundations of modern France. The economic cost of the struggles during Louis XIV's reign was heavy. Progress slowed down in the 18th century. The balances in Europe changed. While Prussia and England grew stronger, old rivals France and Austria began to unite. The competition for colonies between England and France reached its height in the 7 Years' War, which lasted from 1756 to 1763. France, having been defeated, lost its colonies in North America. It supported the American colonies against the British in the quest for revenge. This war led to the founding of the United States. The economic and social crises towards the end of the 18th century led to the French Revolution in 1789, influenced by the Enlightenment movement. The revolution weakened monarchies, destroyed old institutions, and paved the way for new ideas and regimes. Louis XV was removed from the throne in 1792, and the Republic was proclaimed. Several European nations declared war on France, fearing the revolution would threaten their order. Thus, the coalition wars began. Napoleon Bonaparte emerged during the coalition wars and quickly took control of the country. He enacted new laws and completely overhauled the state structure and the military. In 1804, he declared himself emperor. In order to halt Napoleon, the United Kingdom, Austria, Russia, and Prussia came together to form a coalition. Despite this, Napoleon advanced to Moscow in 1812. However, the emperor, unable to break the continental blockade, gradually lost his power and was defeated in 1815 at the Battle of Waterloo. Post-Napoleon, France was suppressed and became unstable. Revolutions followed each other. The country struggled to catch up with the industrial growth rates of other developed nations economically. Efforts were made by leaders to unify the nation through language and secular education, aiming for a national identity. Conflicts arising from changes in art, culture, and ideas became central to France's domestic politics for many years. In 1830, the occupation of Algeria opened a new chapter in France's history. France regained strength, especially with the establishment of the Second Empire by Napoleon III in 1852. New colonies were acquired in Africa, the West Indies, and the Pacific. The unification of Germany by Prussia and the invasion of France in 1870 marked the end of Napoleon III. The Third Republic started chaotically, but later stabilized. From 1880 onwards, France became involved in an accelerating race for colonialism. It made almost half of Africa its colony. It became the largest colonial empire after the United Kingdom. It formed an alliance with the UK and Austria against Germany. As a result of global polarization, the colonial race and armament, World War I broke out in 1914. In the conflict, France was part of the Allied bloc, which included the UK, Russia, and Italy, opposing the German-led alliance. The Allies won after 4 years of war. The destruction from the war led the country into a significant crisis. While Europeans had not yet healed from the war's wounds, Germany, led by Adolf Hitler, initiated World War II in 1939. It invaded France in 1940 after quickly defeating its allies. It created a Vichy government in southern France. The entry of the US into the war on the side of the Allies changed everything. After the Normandy landings in 1944, the German armies were defeated, and the Allies won the war in 1945. France struggled to regain its strength after the war. The Fourth Republic saw many failures. During the 1950s, independence movement surged in French colonies. It lost its colonies in North Africa and China. It lost influence in the Middle East. The country needed help from the United States. Charles de Gaulle, the renowned general from World War II, took control in 1958 and started the era of the Fifth Republic. De Gaulle pursued a national independence policy in a world shaped by the rivalry between the USA and the Soviet Union. He crafted defense and security strategies to foster the rise of a France that is independent, prosperous, and possesses nuclear autonomy. He strengthened relations with former colonies. He developed ties with Germany to balance the two superpowers and promoted the European Union idea. After 1969, the center-right leader Georges Pompidou and Valéry Giscard d'Estaing became presidents. Although they tried to continue de Gaulle's policies, they faced significant economic difficulties. In 1981, François Mitterrand, the leader of the Socialist Party, became president. Although he ended the stagnation of the early 80s with socialist and state-centered policies, he could not adapt to the increasingly liberal economic policies of the 90s. He lost power as he could not adapt to the liberal economic policies that increased in the 90s. Jacques Chirac, a center-right representative, assumed the presidency in 1995, and by the end of the 90s, the French economy had improved. Unemployment decreased, inflation stabilized at a certain level. Chirac linked France's future to the expansion and increased effectiveness of the European Union. In 2007, conservative candidate Nicolas Sarkozy won the election. In 2012, the impact of the 2008 economic crisis and the president's scandalous career led to the rise of socialist leader François Hollande. Hollande had many problems to tackle. The new president couldn't meet expectations. In 2017, Emmanuel Macron was elected president. Since Macron took office, France has shown a tendency to pursue an independent course from the EU's foreign policy. The Mediterranean is trying to gain attention in Africa and the Middle East as the US shifts focus. As always, the country's internal agenda is packed with unresolved problems. At the forefront is a deepening societal crisis linked to migration. What awaits France from now on is something we will all witness together.